man charged with killing 2 women on the east side of Green Bay makes his first appearance in Brown County Court this afternoon.
48-year-old Richard Sotka spent a week behind bars in Arkansas before being extradited back to Brown County this past weekend. He's charged with 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide for the deaths of 58-year-old Rhonda Segelsi and 53-year-old Paula O'Connor. In a First Alert update, Brittany Schmidt joins now in studio with the latest from court. Brittany.
Bill and Cammie, a rather quick appearance this afternoon to set Richard Sotka's cash bond at $2 million. Some of the victims' family members appeared via Zoom, visibly upset as the state went through Sotka's lengthy criminal history. Drug charges date back to the 90s here in Brown County. He currently has 3 pending cases right now in Oconto County related to stalking, battery, and domestic violence. A judge required Sotka to wear an ankle monitoring device for those charges, and it's that same device that police say placed him at LK Lane in the early morning hours of January 29th. That's where authorities found the 2 women dead inside a duplex. According to a criminal complaint, Sotka confessed to killing his girlfriend and her friend. Sotka told authorities, quote, he just snapped. The prosecution brought up a case from 2002 today where Sotka told authorities what happened in another violent case.
I believe in one of the 2002 files, the defendant stated he broke the victim's leg and had apparently cracked her skull. Those were the statements the defendant made when asked about his prior record.
Sotka is back in court on February 22nd for a preliminary hearing. Bill?